Welcome to The Real Story with Jeanne Ives. Well, in 5 months, Illinois voters will go back to the polls again, this time to elect school board members and city council members. I'll tell you what, you can still get on the ballot if you are considering running for school board. With me in studio today are two women who have been pushing back against their school board on a myriad of issues. Most recently, of course, the pornographic books that have been proliferating every school library throughout the state. I don't know a school district that's not dealing with this situation. Well, these two women are taking it their own school board to task. With me in studio is Linda Samuta and Cedra Crenshaw. Ladies, we're going to start out with a clip from your school board meeting on November 14th. Let's play the tape, JP, for Cedra first. This is her public comment to her school board about the pornographic books that are present in their libraries.
Yeah. Hey guys, I have to interrupt you because
I didn't even get started yet.
no. If this is about books, I see the titles of some of the books that I've been reading. And so I just wanted to make sure that we're on agenda items.
We are on agenda items. I haven't even started yet.
Okay.
My name is Cedra Crenshaw. I hope you reclaim my time.
The agenda items for the meeting, the board agenda items for the meeting. There's a second opportunity for public input.
I haven't even started yet. Please restart my time. My comments are in regards to the FOIA in the superintendent's report. And that FOIA reveals there are inappropriate, obscene, pornographic books in all of the Glendbard schools.
Shame.
Even though there are several policies against providing obscene and pornographic material to students. 7190, 7310, 7310 AP1, 825, 910. There could be others. And I'm requesting tonight that you discuss removing this obscene and pornographic material from the libraries. Now, I know you can see the images on this board in front of you, and that's why you didn't want me to say anything. Okay? The graphic novel, Gender Queer, shows drawings about a girl wanting to be a boy. From this book, quote, "We've moved on to sexting at work. I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. It'll fit my favorite dildo perfectly. You're going to look so hot. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life, and then I want you inside of me." This is in the library.
Okay, that was just the start of your comments, Cedra, but let's go straight to Linda's because Linda followed you, and it's very interesting. The school superintendent and the school board president did not want you two to speak. They did not want to have this open discussion, but you guys pressed forward and did it anyway. Let's play Linda's tape, and then we're going to talk about what we just heard.
Other book in there called This Book Is So Gay, which discusses the casual hookup site Grindr and includes detailed information on how to have anal and girl-on-girl sex. From the book, we all want to have sex with loads of people. The prostate gland feels amazing when massaged. Lots of men, gay or straight, like how this feels.
Okay, I mean, you just read a portion of what was in the books. Both of you women, I mean, so you're presenting this information to the school board. They don't want to hear it. Tell me how you felt even having to read that filth in public. I mean, you felt like you had to go there. You had to read it to get the point across. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I think a lot of parents, they may hear news headlines and, oh, it may, it's not that big of a deal. We've had controversial books in the past. People have tried to ban books. When we actually read what's in the books, everyone can notice and identify pornographic and sexually graphic material when they hear it and when they see it. So it is absolutely necessary to put that on the record. We wanted to make sure that administrators, board members, librarians would not be able to mislead the public on this issue. So absolutely, it needed to be put on the record for everyone so we can be on the same page. Parents need to know that this material is in the school libraries.
So it's interesting because there's a lot of other school districts that have already had this fight. Barrington, for example, has had this fight. The Gender Queer is actually assigned a summer reading to sixth graders up in Barrington. I mean, but it's just obscene that you would put this on a reading list for summer reading. So they've had this fight. District 200, I've been involved in the fight there, pushing back because they have genderqueer on it. And then the school district decided to go through a book review based on a complaint by two of their teachers. And then they hid that discussion in closed session on whether or not they were going to keep the book after they had a committee review the book. They hid that discussion. They got sued, or they got found in violation of the Open Meetings Act. They had to bring that back into full discussion, and they voted to keep genderqueer. So now it's cycling through D87, which is, by the way, for the listeners who are listening around the state, D87 is the Glendbard School District. That includes Glendbard North, South, East, and West, which encompasses the towns of Carroll Stream, Bloomingdale, Glendale Heights,
Glenelg and Lombard.
Glenelg and Wheaton. So it's an all-encompassing big high school district. And so now you guys are having this fight here. What prompted you to even, were you looking for the books based off what other people have said? Did somebody bring it up to you? How did you find out that this material was in your schools to begin with? Linda?
Well, I know Cedra had filed a FOIA, and I actually was surprised that you found the books because they seem to have been buried, because I had been watching for these books to hit our libraries. Never saw them on the actual website for each high school. You can go in and see what books students can check out. And when Cedra found the FOIA, I immediately went on I was just offense, defense. I was all over the place because I'm like, no, this can't be happening. My tax dollars should not have been used to purchase these books. Who purchased them? Were they donated? So we started talking, and then we gathered other parents that had the same concern. And when we had started into this issue in 2019 with the transgender bathrooms, I had a lot of people sign a petition, over 700 now, and fighting that. And so I had a lot of emails from people. The Muslim community was involved in this too. Got in touch with them, and here we are.
So you went to that old email list that was about having, transgender bathrooms, multi-gender bathrooms, and you pulled in the Muslim community on this issue. So it's interesting because they showed up to the November 14th meeting as well and spoke. And I have a clip from one of the men who spoke, one of the parents. JP, can you play that clip?
I'm Wasil Khan. I'm the president of Milano. My kids goes to Glendbard West, and I'm really concerned about the books. It was previously discussed, and I don't want to repeat whatever been said already because everybody knows. I just want to understand that without the permission, if it were permitted by any of you, I would like to know, and if it's not permitted, was not voted by you, I would like to know who voted yes or no about this book putting into the school libraries.
I'm sorry, we're not going to comment here.
Okay, so the reason I pulled that particular part of it is that he wanted to put them on the spot. He wanted to know individually which school board members actually approved of this book being in the schools. And I also found it interesting, Cedra, in your comments, you specifically called out a pastor who is also a school board member and said, you profess to be a Christian, you're a pastor. How can you agree to having this material in front of children? And the reaction was silence.
Well, it was a little explosive, but I want to say that at last night's meeting, Pastor Shannon, who is a school board member, he made a very strong statement against these books being in the library. And I thanked him. I appreciated that. His viewpoint is desperately needed on that board. So I was very thankful for that. But yes, as a Christian, as a member of the faith community, I thought it was important, and I know there's other people on that board too who profess to be Christians, to confront them on this issue. And I know we have many of our neighbors from the Muslim community, other faith communities, and just people of good conscience. We absolutely need to bring our faith into these discussions, because the board is supposed to represent the entire community, okay? Not just one part of the community. And this is not an attack on the LGBT community at all. And I think Pastor Shannon, he made a great remark last night, and he asked, who is this helping? It doesn't help any child to present them with sexually graphic, obscene, pornographic material, regardless of their sexual orientation. And so that's our
Can I
issue.
stop you there? Because that was the opposite response that you got from District 200 school board members, who literally said, with no studies behind them, literally said, well, if this book just helps one child, then it's worth having in our library. No proof, no study, no anything, just their imagination that this would help. Why? When does pornography help a child, period, no matter what they're struggling with?
Well, I think if I could jump in here, last night we had 2 people speak in support of these books being in, because they said it helps these students that are struggling with their identity or their sexuality, and it gives them a way to see that they're not that they are part of the school, and it helps them support their feelings. Well, she mentioned the diversity. We need to have diverse books. We have what did she say? The DEI or equality, and we need to think of all people, include everyone. And then when I got up to speak after I heard her say that, I said, diversity is one thing, but diversity is not a book that is showing graphically 2 people giving each other a blowjob. I mean, and it was just that graphic. So why? We don't need sexually graphic books like this to support all students. It definitely is not part of the diversity curriculum.
Absolutely. And I made the point that only people who are grooming kids for sex would give minor children sexually graphic material. That's not diversity. That's child abuse.
Well, and it goes straight to SB 818, which is the comprehensive sex ed bill that passed with the Democrats passed into law, that essentially says that if you teach any comprehensive sex ed, it must be according to the National Sex Education Standards, which are pornographic, including standards in middle school, that you will instruct on anal and oral sex. I mean, how can you do that in good conscience as any teacher who really cares about a child's well-being? I don't know. And how can you, in good conscience, as a parent, subject your child to this type of instruction? Do you know, has D87, as a school district, have they adopted the National Sex Education Standards as part of a comprehensive sex ed program? Or where do they stand on that issue?
I had heard that they did not accept it. Yeah.
Well, that's good. It sounds like you have a board that is listening to the community, which is not normal, but you had to force that conversation. So tell us a little bit more about some of the transparency things you have been working on. Specifically, you had to create your own YouTube channel because you can't even get public comments to be in a form that people can actually listen to. And you've actually had to create a coalition of people to stand up to the board. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Cedra will take the comments or the recording once it's downloaded. But half the time there's horrible audio that District 87 has. I don't know what they're doing with our tax dollars, but they need new audio-visual equipment or a company to help them out. So, but it was nice that at the November 14th meeting, the audio worked. Now, tomorrow night or last night's meeting, the audio was horrible. The microphones kept going in and out. So we'll see what we get from them. But the video channel we're able to send it out to more people so they can see it, because when you look for the video on the website, it's hard to find. They bury it in the minutes. You have to click probably 5
I tried
links.
to find it. I could not
Right.
find it on
It
their
is-
website.
they
so
make
I
it
just
very
went
hard.
to YouTube,
Yeah.
and I apparently found your YouTube channel that you've created
Correct.
just for parents to be able to listen.
Yep.
Because you cannot find it on their website.
Right. On a myriad of issues. I mean, the tax levy. I know there's things with going on with that. So we've just decided we need to let the public see what's going on, hear what's going on, and this is a channel just to help people get educated.
Have you gotten other informal feedback from other members of the community that understand what you're doing?
We have lots of people on email lists and email chains and WhatsApp, and absolutely, people are very engaged and want to know what they can do. So absolutely, once they find out what's going on, absolutely, people want to get involved.
So, are you hopeful at all that change will come? That these school board members will listen to you on this issue?
I'm hopeful.
I'm a bit hopeful because of last night, because we had at least one board member, Pastor Shannon, who came out very strongly against the books. So that in and of itself, just having one board member in opposition to the status quo was very encouraging, I want to say. So no matter what happens, at least someone is listening. And that's a start.
It's a start.
Okay, so I think it's interesting because I know that your husband is a teacher at Glendbard South, Derek, and he actually started to raise attention on the academic levels in Glendbard School District too, because only around 43% of the kids in that district read or do math at grade level. That's a problem in and of itself. And he was passing out flyers for quite a while about their academics and their lack of achievement in that area. And so it seems to me, maybe I'm wrong, was the Muslim community they're more outraged by the books, or are they equally outraged by the academic standards? Are you able to kind of bring a community together around both issues so that you can affect change in the school board elections coming up?
I would probably say a lot of people may have been engaged because of the books, but certainly when it comes to the academic standards, they're very concerned about that as well, as many parents are. That's why many parents move to this area for the schools and the rich academic tradition of the area. So certainly the parents that are engaged on this issue of the pornographic books, they're certainly engaged on just bringing back academics. And I believe my husband, he made those comments last night as part of his comment.
Oh, he did. Didn't pull
he
it.
was there last night. And he said, we need to get back to basics. Let's get back to teaching reading, writing, math. That's where the focus should be. And he brought up the proficiency rates. He talked about they're trying to bring in some block scheduling. He talked about that and how we need to have teachers in the classroom giving instruction. I know there's been a lot of controversy about the block scheduling coming in. But yes, his focus is all about let's get back to instruction and teaching the kids academics. And
Isn't
so
block
certainly
instruction one of those fads that comes in and out as educators try to figure out how best to educate the kids? I thought that's kind of been debunked though, and you're now reconsidering block scheduling.
right. And I'm not going to say that it can't work.
Okay,
In some instances,
maybe in some instances,
but
sure.
there were parents last night and at the previous board meeting who brought up very good points about issues concerning what they're trying to do here in D87 concerning the block scheduling. So those comments, will put those comments out as well. I think they were very informed, and parents need to know.
Well, I mean, I think it's remarkable what you two women have done, along with a couple other women, really, and then your husband Derek. He's been a big leader in this as well. But I mean, there's like a handful of people who have essentially collected emails and are informing the public outside of what you would say normal chain of command, with the school district sending out a memo on this and that, because any school district memo that comes in is just fluff, in my opinion. They're not really giving people the hard facts about, look, here's our challenge, here's how we're going to meet it. No, there's no challenges here. Everything's great. It's all good. There's never a challenge, right? And if there is, they couch it in such terms as to say that it's minor in nature. They won't actually tell you, like, no, only 43% of our kids read or do math at grade level. That's unacceptable, and here's what we're going to do to change it. They never come forward. It's got to come from the community, and it's only because folks like you are paying attention and informing others that you are going to force the change that has to happen for the future generations. I mean, I applaud you. I applaud you for all your work you're doing. It's tiresome though, right? Because tell me, last night you were at the board meeting until
10:30.
10:30?
10:30-ish. Yeah, but you know what, Jeannie, too, there was a academic excellence student awards happening
Okay.
from 7 to 8:30. So they scheduled it in the beginning of the meeting, hoping, I think, parents were not going to come. And then, so they were supposed to start, they told the public they were going to start at 8:30. The program ended, the awards program ended probably about 7:45. They started the meeting at 8 o'clock. And a lot of us were still outside. They had said they were starting at 8:30. So thank goodness we went in about 8:15 and they had already started.
They had already started the meeting ahead of you.
Even though they said it was going to start at 8:30.
I find this troublesome. One, typically meetings start at the normal time on a normal date, and people are used to that. It's on a schedule. They're comfortable knowing when they need to show up. And so instead, ahead of time, because they wanted to wait you out. There's no doubt in the November 14th meeting, they wanted to wait you out, which is why they tried to shut down your public comment at the beginning. They said, well, non-agenda item public comments are at the end of the meeting. And some of these meetings, and by that way, they had like a closed session in those. Those can go an hour plus, depending on what their topic is. They have all this staff reporting that goes on as well. They wanted to wait you out. They were hoping that you would get tired, go home, because nobody wants to sit in one of these public school board meetings until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. It's exhausting. It actually is. And so they didn't want to hear from you. They didn't want you to, in fact, we have a poster, and at the end of this, we'll put your poster up and we'll take a good look at it. People can see what you put it. They don't want that in their faces. They don't want to have to respond to you. So the Academic Excellence Awards, I find that curious that you're having Academic Excellence Awards in November. It's not the end of a semester. It's not the end of a year. Did they just finish their SAT? It seems out of place is all I'm saying. Now, I don't think that you want kids waiting around either if you want to present academic awards them as well. But a lot of times academic awards are done at the school in an auditorium and parents are invited.
But it was interesting because I had the poster. We had set it outside Ryder Hall. So parents were coming in to see, although I do have a warning on the opening. So I kind of had it, and I would only let the parents open up the board.
Right.
One student came and he wanted to see what it was. And so he opened it up and I said, I really am uncomfortable with, if you're not, when it's 18. So he looked at it, I brought over to the parents, and the parents were just kind of like, didn't really want to get involved. Mm-hmm. But there was other students that another one of our friends had asked, and he was part of the LGBT community, and she was talking to him about this. And he said to her, well, if you remove these books, there's going to be a lot of upset kids. And I said, oh, gee. I mean, so obviously they've been sharing these books, looking at these books. They know they're there. And another student, she saw this, she started yelling, trans rights. And then she was with her mom, and she flipped me the bird. And all I could do was just, smile and shake my head. I'm not going to engage in anything like that. But that just kind of showed the other parents that were around what kind of these things influence kids. The social, emotional learning that's happening, the SEL in the schools as well is very concerning. And just this DEI push. It's very concerning. CRT, a lot more than just pornographic books that are happening in our schools to be concerned about.
It's coming from a position of usurpation of parental influence. That's where it's coming from. They don't see the parents as the primary influencers of children. They want the school and the school's policies to be the primary influencer of children. Parents don't know what they're doing. We know better what's best for your child. I mean, that is where it's coming from, and that is a recipe for disaster long-term for our country.
And Jeannie, I want to make an appeal to any parents out there who may see this podcast, who may consider themselves on the left or progressive, this affects you as well. You have a right, just like any other parent, to parent your kids. And I just want to bring up Abigail Schreier's book, Irreversible Damage, the transgender craze in our daughters. That book detailed many parents who considered themselves progressive and on the left, who were blindsided when their children were sucked into this whole transgender craze. They didn't want that. And they saw it as harmful. And I would say to any parents out there, this is about you and your parental rights. You have a right to parent your children, not the school district. That's what this is about. It's not about hating on any community or anything like that, but it's about you and your right to parent your child. And so I believe a lot of parents, they're going to be blindsided when they find out that their kids have been led astray, whether it's this issue or another issue, because the school has been parenting their kids. And so I just
without
appeal,
their knowledge.
Right, without their knowledge.
Without their knowledge.
They would think the last place a parent would think to look for pornographic material would be on their kids' iPad, their school iPad, or in their school library. So we're just appealing to all parents in general.
Right. And parents, if you want to, you can go buy the book yourself for your child if you think it's helpful. It is absolute pornographic. And let's be clear here. Gender queer is not about gays. It's really about transgender sex, and it's very graphic pornographic. I mean, it's very graphic.
And this isn't about banning books either. Like you said, they can get this book in the public libraries. They can buy it if they like. It just doesn't belong in the schools.
No, because the school then puts its imprimatur on such acts and ideas, and those are not things that our kids should have a school sort of sanction. That's what they're doing by having it in the public library. You are sanctioning pornography, and So the fight continues. School board elections coming up in 5 months. People, I mean, it's pretty obvious to me that these are some of the most important elections that we have are these school board elections. The school board hires the superintendent. And he then in turn hires the staff and the management. They determine academic proficiencies. They determine the cheating policy, for example. That was controversial in D87. They determine disciplinary procedures, all sorts of things. They make the tax levy, the referendum decisions, books and fees, all that stuff happen at the school level. It's really one of the most important jobs. And in 5 months, between the city elections and your school board elections, basically 90% of your property tax is on the ballot. You're going to make a decision on who's going to implement your desires for your community through the tax system, and whether or not you want to pay for that. So it's super important that people be involved and understand what's going on. And I know that the only way forward, which has really been, I'm really grateful, it's not just you in D87. There's a group of parents in D200. There's a group of parents in Naperville. There's a group of parents in Barrington, in Elmhurst. There are Downers Grove, Hinsdale. There are parent groups sprouting up to essentially take back their school systems, because for too long we just trusted that they were doing the right thing, and they haven't been. Academic standards have been declining while your property taxes have been skyrocketing, and then now they're putting in all these types of critical race theory and sexual indoctrination, which is just harmful to our children. Right. So.
Right. You know, Christopher Rufo, if I can
Yes.
quote him real quick, he says, there are no book bans in America. Authors have a First Amendment right to publish whatever they want, but public libraries and schools are not obligated to subsidize them. Voters get to decide which texts and ultimately which values public institutions transmit to children. And that just really struck me. We're not trying to ban books here. We're trying to make sure what is in our libraries, what's in our schools is age appropriate. Parents are going to sign off on these things. We should have a say in what is in what is going to be put in our children's minds, because a lot of kids will go into these libraries. They say, oh, well, they don't have to read the book. They don't have to pull the book. Well, they'll go into the library. With the block scheduling, they're going to have a lot of time just to like look at their phones or twiddle their thumbs. But they can also go into the libraries, grab one of these books, look at it, share it with their friends, put it back without the parents even knowing about it.
Well, and that's right. And when it's in a public school library, especially, they are sanctioning that as appropriate material. That's the problem here. And this is not appropriate. Linda, if you could, can you just prop your board up here and because you can hear my podcast, you can also watch the podcast. And so if you open that up, we can just show, quick graphic and images, quick warning. And are all these books, did you find all these books in the library? Flamer, All Boys Aren't Blue, Genderqueer, This Book is Gay. Did you, all those books?
In every high school library in both hard copy and digital form. Flamer is, I believe, only Glendbard South, and that's like a rented book. So
That's strange.
All Boys Are Blue is in East and North. Right, I said that one already. And then This Book is Gay. That's in Glendbard North and in West. And that book actually tells kids where they can go and find sex parties and orgies.
Oh, that's really something we want in our
Yeah,
public library.
And so it talks about going to saunas and bathhouses, giving them all these great ideas on where they can go, to find, same-sex relations or it doesn't matter, heterosex. I mean, it doesn't matter, heterosexual relations too.
How any administrator, any school board member, any principal, you name it, how anybody can agree to have that book anywhere near a child is obscene. They are grooming children if they say that that's okay. All right. Okay. Well, we'll take that down. And thanks a lot for fighting the fight, ladies. And I encourage other listeners to get involved as well in their own local schools and do the same thing. It's actually refreshing to give a voice and to find others that come alongside you and do the right thing for our children. So I really appreciate your efforts. I know it's tireless work. So thank you. All right. And that's The Real Story with Jeanne Ives.